everybody, it's Sol here for the first Talkin Tuesdays, and joining me, of course, to my, left is...
It's PhantomStrider, how you doing?
And down below we have...
I am the BlackCriticGuy, aka the Phantom fanboy. I'm glad to be here. I'm actually moving to Australia next week. I'm gonna be in the city adjacent to my buddy Phantom, so we can hang out all the time.
Okay, and down in the lower corner here, we also have...
Hi guys, I'm blameitonjorge.
Cool. So today the topic that we're going to be discussing is, are memes ruining cartoons? So, who would like to start us off?
Well, do you have anything to start with?
I was about to say, the host should maybe
Okay.
give a little bit more
Should
on
direct the conversation.
Okay, so are memes ruining cartoons? I'd like to say that there are different breeds of memes that infect cartoons. Some of them are worse than others. There are cartoons that have memes in them, like Gravity Falls, where they make references to certain memes, but it's the way in which it's presented that keeps it from being, facepalm worthy. In that sense, I don't think that type is bad. Then there's shows on the complete other side of the spectrum, like Powerpuff Girls 2016, which just throws a bunch of shit at you, a whole bunch of memes and shit in order to try and stay relevant, but the cold hard truth is that everyone is just face-palming and it's cringing and hashtag cringe, all that kind of stuff.
Can I ask you this, although, do you think it's just the older audience that's cringing? Do you think the kids are feeling manipulated, or do you think the kids kind of buy into the OMG, yes? I'm like,
Yas, Queen, yes!
I think kids are enjoying it and not even really knowing about it. Because if you see that reaction video to the kids reacting to the Cartoon Network 25th anniversary that Fine Bros did.
Yeah.
Don't see me, Fine Bros. They're like, oh my god, Powerpuff Girls, oh my god, Teen Titans. They're still enjoying it. They probably would have brought that up. I know for sure that if anybody our age saw that, we'd be like, oh, the older one was better.
Yeah.
So I think at least from their perspective, they're enjoying it. They're like, that's funny, they get us.
Well,
So you think that the nostalgia factor plays a huge role as to why we're probably cringing?
well,
Well, that's probably a huge reason why Teen Titans Go is hated so much, because the original one was just so good. I mean, a bit of it was, it's our childhood. We grew, of course we're gonna like it, but just by pure comparison.
Yeah, I was there to see that vitriol. In fact, I got the brunt of that because I defended Teen Titans Go. And they're like, "Oh my God, how could you?"
yeah.
I don't know. Mostly the time I just get brunt for talking about Teen Titans Go. Because we all know talking about something popular is terrible. But anyway.
So when you say that, do you think it's just us, the older generations who hashtag cringe and all this kind of stuff? I would say yes, but I do think that there's a certain audience in the the demographics for these shows that don't like being pandered to in this way, that they can see that it's just sort of like, ooh, we're hip, we're relevant, we get it, that kind of thing. That's where Powerpuff Girls 2016, I think, severely fails, is because when you inject something from the current age into a show, it dates it no matter what you're going to do. Different, though, from something like South Park, which is always about social commentary, about current events, things like that. It doesn't date the show because you could still take the lessons and the morals and the story that it applies and use it for any story, really. It's just that they use the event as a springboard for stories. Whereas with memes in shows like Powerpuff Girls 2016, they use the story as a board for memes, which is just
And it's not just the shows too. Like Nickelodeon had its section on or Indian Nickelodeon, which might make it worse, but Indian Nickelodeon had this section about dabbing.
Oh no!
So they're very it's not just we're trying to stay hip. No, they're very that's just what they're doing. So it's hard to really pinpoint this on the show.
Well, one big example of it that actually spurred me into wanting to make this topic for Talkin Tuesdays is Rick and Morty, which is a big topic of contention right now between people. Some people really like the memes that are coming from it, like Pickle Rick and Get Swifty and Show Me What You Got.
Having a super high.
The irony of all of that is most of those things are supposed to be criticisms of memes. I mean, the whole Wubba Lubba Dub Dub was supposed to be mocking the whole idea of cartoon catchphrases.
Parody of a meme, yeah.
Exactly. And I always thought, like, Getting Swifty was supposed to be a mockery of, like, just the stupid language that some hip-hop songs have. It's like, what's the stupidest thing we... Huh?
It turned into a meme in the process of parodying a meme almost, and maybe that was intentional. Sorry, you go ahead.
It's a beautiful irony. It's a beautiful irony, in my opinion. You know, the things that they are mocking later on get a life of their own, and they get a new life. You know. So I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Sol.
Well,
go on ahead.
Georgie, do you have any thoughts before I go rip into this a bit?
I was unaware that it was a meme. I mean, I thought it was just like a popular thing. The only meme I know from Rick and Morty is the high IQ. I see that everywhere where it's the copy pasta where you have to have a high IQ to enjoy Rick and Morty.
Yeah, that's on the same level. That's on the same level as like I sexually identify as an attack helicopter, or I'll have you know I graduated blah 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 in the Navy or whatever the fuck it was. You know, that's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was my interpretation of memes, that basically stuff that is repeated over and over and makes it into internet GIFs and stuff like Wubba Lubba Dub Dub and OMG Yath and that sort of thing. You know, just short phrases and stuff that don't necessarily have a deep amount of meaning, but are catchy and will just repeat through social media and everything. And it's almost like a mini pop song, and just it rides on its popularity and its quantity.
Yeah, Rick and Morty popularity itself into a meme, where like everyone's making fun of like Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls because they're trying to capture that ride, that like internet sensation. Rick and Morty was just like super popular.
Well, this is the thing about it. Rick and Morty was popular at the end of the second season. It was popular. People liked it. At the third season, though, something changed about it, and what changed was its intent. Now, the intent of the first and second season was to establish the characters in the world and everything like that, with some sort of kind of, you know, like you said, anti-memes thrown in with Wubba Lubba Dub Dub and Get Swifty and all that kind of stuff. But then in the third season, it changed from being anti-memes to just being memes. You know, especially the whole Pickle Rick thing. I mean, the Szechuan sauce, you could argue, was not intended to be a meme, because it was actually part of the story. You know,
that whole thing was genius, though.
Yeah, but
genius.
I don't think anyone could have predicted what was going to happen with it.
Well, I actually disagree. I think the thing about I feel whenever I watch Rick and Morty is I feel manipulated. I'm very sensitive to when I feel someone is trying to manipulate me, and everything in Rick and Morty is so cleverly planned and perfectly calculated. And there's like, this will go on social media, like even the things like Pickle Rick and just tiny details like that. Everything is so carefully calculated.
Would you say that about the first?
Pretentious.
Would you say that about the first and second season, or just the third one? Or did you start feeling that way during the third season and not before? Because that's what I did. I didn't feel that way for the first two seasons, but then when the third season started, I'm like, this shit exists to be memed, to sell merchandise. You know?
No.
Was Pickle Rick really that?
I think... I'll go... Georgie, my boy.
Sorry, just real quickly. Was Pickle Rick really, like, devised to be, yes, this will be shared on the internet, because it's so hilarious?
Yes, it is. I could say that it is. In fact, I think that the Pickle Rick aspect ruined that episode, because I think it would have been much more interesting if it was just regular Rick in a situation where he was all alone and he just had to escape a hostile area with his own wits. Him being a pickle is secondary to everything else.
Well,
but
I mean, the whole point of that episode was I think the whole point of that episode is what's the most ridiculous situation that we can put Rick in? What if Rick was a pickle and then had to go and do all this crazy... Like, the whole point about Rick and Morty is, like, what can we do? What is the most ridiculous thing that we can think of? Situation. Yeah, and then put the characters in it. The whole Pickle Rick thing, and I almost thought that the whole Pickle Rick thing was kind of this whole... It was almost like a mock of meme making, because he constantly had to point out that he was a pickle. Like, I'm a pickle, I'm a pickle, I'm a pickle, you know? And I kind of like the fact that he kept pointing it out so blatantly. It was almost like a response to the audience who is watching this. Like, you're not crazy. I'm a pickle. And there's a whole episode is gonna be about me being a pickle and killing a bunch of fools. That's the whole point of this episode.
But keep in mind, if you were paying attention to social media after the episode aired and everything like that, the instant every single episode in this third season came out, the instant they were selling merchandise of it. So they obviously knew what was going to sell, and one of the things that was going to sell after the Pickle Rick episode, whoever sells their merchandise, instantly just pop figures and t-shirts and buttons and pins and all this shit was just Pickle Rick, and it's like, so this was not they didn't make this episode, I feel, to tell a good story. They made it so they could sell merchandise, and that's what I'm saying.
Did you not feel like it was a story? Did you feel like it wasn't a good story?
It would have been.
I personally thought it was second. I certainly think it's the third best episode of the third season.
Well, like I said,
everyone agrees the best one is the seventh one.
In my opinion,
go ahead.
Sorry, it's just in my opinion, him being a pickle is secondary to everything else. So that's what I'm saying, is that it could have been the same episode, I feel, with him just being human in a larger situation.
But would it be as fun, though? Would it be as memorable?
I don't think the episode was fun. I just think it was good. But that's what I'm saying, is that the intent of the episode was not to tell a story about a man turning himself into a pickle and escaping a dangerous situation. It was a story about selling merchandise with Pickle Rick all over it. And that's what I'm saying. So people, obviously, who had never seen the show or only had a cursory knowledge of the show are seeing all this memey shit, and they're turning against the cartoon because all these people are saying that Rick and Morty is a smart cartoon. I would agree that it is, to a certain extent. But then they see all this shit like Pickle Rick and Szechuan sauce and wubba lubba dub dub, and it's like...
But is that the show's fault? Or is that the audience's fault?
It's the memes' fault, is what I'm saying. This memes, to me, have ruined Rick and Morty in the public's eyes. Because...
I don't think... Well, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, is that people now, like you said with the whole high IQ copy pasta thing, it's like people who really enjoy Rick and Morty who didn't like it for the memes, like myself, I just liked it for the characters and stories and everything. Now they feel kind of embarrassed when it's like, you see someone with a Rick and Morty t-shirt, and they look at you. It's like in I Hate Everything's video where he said some guy saw me in a Rick and Morty t-shirt and he just yelled out, "Wubba lubba dub dub!" It's like that. What?
Well, popularity like that can like severely ruin any show. Like if you go to like Reddit's I Am Very Smart subreddit, where they just make fun of people who pretend to be really smart, they ban Rick and Morty memes. Because it got like way too out of hand. Because like they would just pretend to have like the highest IQs ever, and so like any type of popularity could really like severely ruin a show, because in any fandom there's always just like bad people.
And keep in mind, in the thing you just talked about, I Hate Everything's video, he doesn't condemn the show. He still likes the show. He condemns the fans.
Right,
like that's the point.
That's the point.
But the question...
what the thing is that the memes don't ruin the show. The people who keep pushing these memes and acting so ridiculous are what are ruining casual fans from liking the show.
It's
you can say the same thing about like anime. There are some devout, diehard anime fans that will ruin a certain show just because of their over infatuation with it. That they're like, well, okay.
I guess you could equate this whole "are memes ruining cartoons" situation to something along the lines of gun control, where people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. So memes don't kill cartoons, people kill cartoons. So yeah, in a way,
I would agree with that.
The memes can be blamed to a certain extent, but I would agree that it does come down to people in a lot of ways. It's the same reason I can't stand Steven Universe anymore. The show is just the show, but it was... not really the memes, but it was like the shipping and the romance and the fans and all that shit. So I'm saying is that yes, I would say that it's capable, that people are capable of ruining a show, but memes are kind of... It all depends on how you use it. Memes are kind of like a death ray in that regard, is that sometimes they can really work, like I said with Gravity Falls, or sometimes you, in hindsight, make shows into memes, like with Jimmy Neutron. Whereas, the internet wasn't as popular back then, so memes weren't really, a big thing. But now, when we look back at all the dumb shit and funny shit that happened in that show, we can kind of meme it a bit and maybe bring people back into it. that's another good way to use memes to encourage people to watch cartoons. But then there's shit like fucking Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls 2016 that spawn that just look at what's popular and go, the kids like that, let's just put it in our cartoon, and that's when you get Powerpuff Girls fucking twerking.
What about you, Phantom? What do you gotta say?
I actually would only intervene to say that I think it's important to remember at times like this that it's often a loud minority, particularly on things like Steven Universe, because I've said it in a commentary before. I know for a fact this cartoon attracts so many good people, very just open-minded people, and it is unfortunate we get cases like that where they harass someone and it just gets spread all over media because of negativity bias, and because there is so many good people behind it and the good people making it, and it spreads so much good that it's sad that the fans' reaction, a small minority of fans, can ruin it for other people, because I still just enjoy the show, regardless of a minority of fans. So, yeah.
I was about to say that, too, that, like, I wouldn't really let stuff like that bother me.
What?
If you, yeah, seriously, if you look at the...
Dude, your mic is cutting out.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I was probably too far away. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I wouldn't... That kind of stuff just doesn't bother me as often. Like, if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
There it goes again.
What?
Exists. I really wouldn't. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, your mic is cutting out like crazy.
Is it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
Pickle Rick attacked him. That's why, guys. It's Pickle Rick. He's coming for us.
I don't know.
To talk about him. I think, honestly, to go back to your point, Sol, I only think that memes are destructive to cartoons when cartoons only rely on memes. Like you point out, Powerpuff's 2016 and Teen Titans Go shows that literally in their episodes will refer to a meme. I think the point that I will feel like Rick and Morty is completely lost is if they address the memes that they've created and then they just keep on doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they brought up Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, how many times is that really brought up in the show? The only time I really remember it being a vocal point in the show is when they were saying, remember all your crazy catchphrases?
Lick my balls.
Yeah, and then even at the end of that episode, the catchphrase they ends on is not even a catchphrase we remember. He says, and that's the way the news goes, you know?
Yeah.
It's more of a mockery of itself and how stupid it can be. But when he's like running around saying wubba lubba dub dub just out of nowhere, or if we go back to Pickle Rick again, like Pickle Rick, the sequel, you know, like I turn myself into a pickle again, I wonder why. And then I'll be like, okay, now you're just trying too hard to play.
They wouldn't do that too, though. They're way too smart to do that.
They're way too smart to do that.
Everything, as I personally think in Rick and Morty, is extremely pre-calculated, extremely careful. It's why it took multiple years, like a year at least, for it to get another season, because everything is so carefully planned. And they know everything that's going to take off. They know everything that is going to do well. And they do know about Pickle Rick, but they also put it in a very clever situation, in that it was just completely random, off the wall, ultra-violent to fit in with the Adult Swim crowd. It just ticked all the boxes that episode.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's fun. Unless you don't like ultra-violence that much or nihilism, but there you go.
Well, okay, consider this. Consider none of you had ever seen Rick and Morty before. You were looking online and you saw all this stuff about Pickle Rick with no context whatsoever. Just a Pickle Rick, you know, all that kind of stuff, and everyone's sharing it and memeing it and everything like that. If you went into that episode with no prior knowledge of Rick and Morty or anything like that and you watched it, would you say you'd still enjoy it, or would you say that everyone's memeing of it ruined it?
Georgie?
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
All right. I was just like testing my mic real quickly while I was away for a bit. I don't know. I think people will still enjoy it if the memes are going to bring them to the show.
If you never seen the show and you saw a bunch of memes of Pickle Rick and then you were to go to watch the episode, how would you feel about it?
I'm actually not too sure.
Okay.
I personally would still see, but you got to also take into context the type of person that is looking at the memes too. Like for me, if I see something ludicrous like that, I'll be like, the hell is that? That is, to me, that would fascinate me. And then I would go and watch it, and I would laugh my ass off. This guy turns himself into a pickle, and we forget the reason he turned himself into a pickle was so that he could avoid therapy. And it all comes back full circle. You know, you want to talk about the brilliance of Rick and Morty. You know, I'm not gonna go out of my way to say that Rick and Morty is a smart show, but I will say that it is clever and it's brilliant. Because in like the big context of the show being a comedy, the deep subtext about the tragedy of these characters is what really makes the show enriching. And so the whole thing about him not admitting his faults, and you know, the therapist literally hitting every point about him on the nail, and he addresses it in a very Rickish way. He doesn't even seem fazed by it, but you know, deep down, she struck a chord.
It's the only time someone really struck Rick right where he hurts and gave him basically a taste of his own medicine.
You notice in that episode, he didn't say anything back either.
No. He couldn't rebuttal to that, and that was the nice part. For once, of all his pretentiousness, of all everyone bowing to his will over 2 seasons, someone finally put him in his place and said, no, you're only human. These are your faults. This is what you're doing, and it's just a defense mechanism. And just seeing him put in his place like that, for someone who can't stand pretentiousness, and that's the underlying thing I don't like about Rick and Morty, is that constant pretentiousness. I was just like, yes, you deserve that. And because I do a degree in psychology, I have respect for psychologists, and she was a bloody good psychologist.
Bloody good.
It's kind of like difficult for me to differentiate the memes and the fandom.
Well, they kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, there's stuff about the show that gets really popular, like Pickle Rick, but then there's the people with the super high IQs that kind of go around and give other people a bad name and make it hard for people that casually like the show to wear shirts and to just.
Do they really have that super high an IQ though?
I'll send you a link to it later. It's pretty hysterical.
Let me put it this way though.
But that's exactly my point. That people just kind of mock that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So
drinking the wine with the monocle.
So you said that it depends on what type of person you are, how you would react to these memes without ever seeing the actual thing itself. Don't you think that maybe the memes themselves coming from these cartoons might deter someone from watching it because of their oversaturation and intent? As in, someone who's never seen the show sees this bullshit Pickle Rick all over the place, or Szechuan sauce, or Powerpuff Girls twerking or something like that, and it's like, oh, this looks stupid, I'm not gonna watch the show, regardless of the show's intent.
I can give a rebuttal to that. Saturation. What the memes cause is extreme oversaturation in the social media, and that is a more effective way of advertising now across the internet than, say, a TV commercial. So if you put, say, $100,000 into saturation of media with a meme, which is instantly recognizable picture, instead of, say, $1 million or something on a TV commercial, then that will be far more effective in today's modern society. Even if it turns away a few people, if 100,000 people see a video appear in their recommended feed, a lot of us can hate it, but even more people are going to click on it. And that, it's like a bad pop song. It gets popular, but not necessarily because it's good or it's smart or it stands on its own qualities, but because someone like Beyonce, and I'm not saying anything about Beyonce or Katy Perry, can get mileage, even if she's just got a song that's going wob, 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 purely on the fact that she is Katy Perry and has such oversaturation. So I would argue that, yeah. Are
you saying that a cartoon shouldn't attempt to be, like, memey until it has a certain reputation?
No, I'm just saying it's the best way it's a really good effective form of advertising, and if something instantly clicks with a person, if a picture of a Pickle and Rick and that sort of goes together instantly is recognizable by a person, then that can be much more effective advertising than just straight up advertising on TV, and much cheaper.
Yeah, a picture says 1,000 words. I mean, and it could really get people interested. I'll give you a fine example. Years ago, I stopped watching Futurama. This is back when it was like about to be picked up, and I'm like, I don't really want to watch it. But then the memes started coming out, you know, shut up and take my money. I don't want to live on this planet anymore, stuff like that. And it piqued my interest again in the show. And then when I watched it in the show, and you see the context where the meme came from, you're like, oh, that's kind of rich. That's interesting. And to see something like that take a life of its own is fascinating.
That's a show that's not trying to be memey. It's just a show that got popular and people just made memes out of it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's like the Jimmy Neutron type of it, where people went back and made memes out of this kind of stuff. And that helps people bring it back. That's good. It wasn't made with the intent to be memed, but it works as a meme. It's kind of like JonTron in that, like, I know that's not cartoon related, but I'm just saying, some of his stuff nowadays is made as an intent to be memey, but a lot of his older stuff, you go back and it's like, oh, this is good for meme. So I think we would all agree then that this type of memeing in cartoons is okay to do, that it's not necessarily detrimental.
An adaptation. It's an adaptation to the times. We see it even in YouTube videos. I think it's very relevant that you bring up YouTube videos. Doug will often do little things that people will pick up, and we try to, not we, but a lot of people try to aim for something that is short and quick and is humorous, that everyone remembers, that they can repeat in the comments, that can get, like, say, 1,000 likes or something like that, but then will be transferred to social media. And that is the best advertising, because even if you don't like it, it puts you in the public consciousness. It's the same way a bad commercial will work. Say some idiot talking about rugs. You may not like that idiot talking about rugs, but you will remember that rug store because of it, because it's in your public consciousness. And the meme works in the same way.
So I think then the better way to put it, to summate this, would be it's okay for cartoons to try and inject memes into the public consciousness, but it's not okay for a cartoon to take from the public consciousness and try and make it more significant for itself. So
they shouldn't be
really
they shouldn't be aware
about it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say
try hard.
Yeah, I was about to say real quickly that you shouldn't really be try hard about it. I just want shows that are good and shows that get popular, and then we make memes out of it. Because a lot of these like memes on 90s shows like SpongeBob and Jimmy Neutron are coming out of nowhere is because we remember that and because we cherish our childhoods.
Yeah, I was about to say they can, like, shows can have memes in them, but it's about how you execute the meme. The reason people were so resentful and hateful towards the Powerpuff Girls saying yas and I can't even is because there wasn't anything clever about it. It was there for the sake of being there to cater to an audience. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't smart, it wasn't witty, there was nothing to it. It was as bland, it felt very executive, you know. It's like, hey,
you can feel the strings being pulled on
exactly
children.
Strings being pulled, you know. It wasn't in there to be kind of like a witty kind of thing, you know. It would have been funny if they did that and you had the professor looking at them, was like, the hell are you all saying to me? Like, you know, kind of get, like, they always say, like,
actually, that would have been smart.
Yeah,
comedy is about other people's suffering. We get comedy from suffering. So, you know, one thing that is a big criticism of Teen Titans Go, and I really credit Mr. Ender for this, is that there's no straight man. Everybody is a cartoon fool, and nobody, like, the comedy keeps bouncing back and forth, but nobody's, like, reacting to it. No one's in pain of this comedy. And I agree to that to some certain degree. And in this situation, memifying things in the context of the show and just to throw it in there without anybody, like, having something witty to do with it, that's where it becomes detrimental. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna add in real quickly that it's fine for me for memes to be in the show as long as they weren't, like, memes first, I guess. Like, you can go back and watch the Futurama episode about, oh, take my money. That wasn't there as, like, this is it. This is gonna be the funniest thing in the world. Like, this is why it's here. No, it's part of it, and then it became a meme. And then we go back and watch it, and it's like, there's the meme, but it wasn't like a meme first.
Yeah,
they're not taking from what we're saying.
Right, that's what I was saying. Is that it's okay for a cartoon to inject to create a meme for the public consciousness, but it's not as okay for a cartoon to take memes from the public consciousness to try and stay relevant. It's like when you watch the Emoji Movie, you know, basically every single part of that is taking it's taking from the public consciousness, but it's not giving anything into it. So I guess it's I guess a cartoon has to kind of
manipulative dribble.
Yes, a cartoon has to sort of maintain that balance, or really anything, not just a cartoon, but it has to maintain that balance of giving and receiving into the public consciousness. It's like those terrible movies that are made by idiots who just inject a whole bunch of social media shit into it all the time because it's like
hashtag loving it,
hashtag horror. Yeah, it's like they oh fuck, I hate it when people say hashtag. But it's like they put in. Yeah, they put in all this allusions to, like, Instagram and Twitter and Spotify and all this stuff because the kids will get it. There doesn't have to be a joke. It doesn't require any thought or anything like that. They just take from the public consciousness, and they don't contribute comedy back because they just assume that the joke is in the fact that they're mentioning it. So maybe it's not a problem of our memes ruining cartoons. It's more of a, is being meta ruining cartoons?
If you go back to, like, the first Toy Story, I think it was made in 1995, a lot of the dialogue is, like, really modern. There's nothing in it that's about the 90s. Like, all of it's really modern, all of it's stuff that we would say right now.
Timeless.
And then, timeless. And then, you know, same thing with, like, early Simpsons, stuff like that. And then later on, when we grew up and the internet becomes a huge thing, people make memes about it. I can think of it. I can think of a few right now.
It's like
I can think of one exactly like that one where it's like
he's holding Woody.
What?
Wait, what?
There's always that one of Bugs. I'm sorry, I've been doing Bugs Bunny. There's always that one of Buzz Lightyear and Woody. Woody's holding on and showing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's everywhere.
Yeah.
Memes everywhere.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
There's also one where they're flying. It's like, we missed the truck. We're not aiming for the truck, and then they hit something else. Like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. But again, that's going back and making a meme.
Yeah,
of
that
it, which
became
is
a
okay.
meme.
Yeah, that's okay.
Now the meme's in there.
Yeah, and even so basically, yeah, I have heard some people comment saying that being the meta jokes, in jokes, stuff on that has, like, in Big Mouth and things like that, where it's just meta jokes all the time. That can be very annoying. I've mentioned a couple times in my reviews where it's like self-referential humor can work, something like Rick and Morty or Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, something like that, where it works to be self-referential because that's the comedy that it supplies. It's giving self-referential comedy into the public consciousness. But if you take the comedy or the material from the public consciousness and just be like, we are pointing at this thing and therefore it is funny, that's not funny. It just makes people mad.
It's about wit. At the end of the day, it's about wit. These shows and TV and movies that do the whole, like, pulp culture references, the problem is there's no wit to it. It's like watching Scary Movie 3 through 5. It's like, hey, this scary movie exists, and this moment exists, and look, there's the Kardashians and stuff like that, you know? It's like pointing out references. Mm-hmm. The thing you gotta do is you have to put wit to them. Like, one of the most ingenious things about the Lego movie is that it was so self-aware, but there was wit to it. There was charm. They handled it very intelligently.
They're not going to take the Lego movie seriously.
Guess what? Yeah. Guess what? It didn't have any memes in it.
Marvel actually does the same thing. Sorry to cut you off there, but I think it's such an important point that Marvel does the same thing, and some people think it's to its detriment now, that basically there's this great line in Avengers 2 where he said, they're just in the middle of fighting Ultron. He says, like, the city is falling, and
there's
I have
robots everywhere, and I have a bow and arrow.
None of this makes sense, and that is it in a nutshell. And DC doesn't get that because you've got to be able to take guys running around in spandex a bit self-deprecatingly, and you've got to be able to make a joke of it. And
you got to have some wit.
Exactly. It contributes a joke in the situation. Despite being self-referential, that's what I'm saying, is that in that situation it works, but they're not just being like, it's not like Hawkeye or whoever it is turns to the camera and says, Marvel movies, am I right?
Yeah.
That would have been like, well, what the fuck, you know, like...
the Hulk turns to the camera, is like, Hulk going smash now. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, when Marvel first made Guardians of the Galaxy, when Marvel first made Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, the brilliant thing was that they made it, like, very lighthearted and comedy. Like, no one's gonna take it seriously, and the best way to make you like something is if it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
So if they made Ant-Man completely with the intentions of, yes, this is silly, yes, it's Ant-Man, but it was a funny movie and people were on board, and now people are excited to see Ant-Man and Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp now that we already like those characters. So there's a bit of self-awareness where, like, yes, we're making an Ant-Man movie, yes, we're making Guardians of the Galaxy. I have no idea who Guardians of the Galaxy are, but it's going to be like, we know it's obscure. We're not going to make you, like, try to care as much. We're just going to try to make you like these characters first.
We're going to have fun with this.
Yeah, and then once you do care, then we can get into some of the serious stuff, like Captain America.
Yeah, I was just thinking that they do. I actually have never seen Ant-Man, but I love that Captain America movie. It is one of the best Marvel movies I've seen. Or Civil War.
Civil War.
Winter Soldier is also incredible. I love the story behind that. Frankly, all the last two Captain America movies have been insanely good to me. Anyway,
I've been telling people for years, Captain America, the best Marvel.
And the thing about Ant-Man is I haven't actually seen the original movie, but just in the short time I saw of him and him basically being dumped out of the truck half asleep, I'm like, I already like this guy. And
yeah, he's an average Joe. He's the funny guy.
Yeah, and they do it so well.
Serious situation.
And now that Spider-Man's there, Spider-Man's just a huge meme.
Yeah, and so like they do that. They know what they're doing. I guess is the thing.
Anyway, cartoons. So we're
sorry, I love my Marvel movies.
That's okay.
They're all kind of interconnected.
We're gonna start wrapping up here. So, anybody got any final thoughts on the topic? Are memes and or meta jokes ruining cartoons?
You go
I love
first.
the Arnold fist thing.
What?
From Arnold when he has like his fist down.
Which one?
I mean, when you see somebody like wearing the same clothes as you or something, and you just see Arnold's fist like right next to his pants. I love that. Stuff like that I'm totally fine with. It makes me go back and want to watch Arnold.
And it's obscure, and that's part of what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And it's all about execution. At the end of the day, it's about execution. The reason why Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls 2016 fail is their execution feels very studio-based. There's no heart, there's no wit, there's no humor to it. It's catering at the most annoying degree.
You mean pandering?
Okay.
Pandering,
catering. They're basically pandering to their audience, right? It's pandering to the highest degree. Memes are not bad in nature, nor are cartoons doing memes bad in itself. It's all about how they execute it. It's all about them having an understanding of it. And sometimes it's just about, whether or not they have fun with the whole thing, And they have to come off genuine when doing it. It can't be a ploy to be like, hey, you millennials, enjoy this because we said hashtag wubba lubba dub dub.
I really don't even think they like care about our opinion because they're gonna do this stuff and we're not gonna like it and we're gonna make videos about it, but like it's gonna get popular based off of that. Like there's no such thing as bad publicity.
No such thing as bad publicity. Exactly.
So like as long as the kids like it, they're fine. But if we make fun of it, like it might just even get bigger. They might even be trying to capture that.
Well, exactly. Teen Titans Go wouldn't be as popular now if I don't think it would be if all the cartoon critics didn't despise it. Not all of them, but a lot of them didn't. And compared it.
Can I say though, the most clever thing that show did? I know you guys might not agree with me on this, but I personally loved this. The most clever thing that Teen Titans Go did was that they addressed the criticisms that they got in that one episode.
Yeah, that was ballsy.
They address it all the time, and they do it really nastily.
I haven't seen. I don't watch it prolifically anymore, or I never actually did. I just watched it now and again. But when I saw that clip, and you can almost say that whole clip was a meme in itself. But when I saw that, I'm like, see, that's how you do it. That's how you take criticism and then you do something creative with it. You almost make it like a joke in a sense. And I
first saw it online.
Yeah, but don't you think that taking criticism and turning it into a joke, but still doing the things you're being criticized for, isn't really productive?
I agree.
They weren't mocking the fans. They addressed what was the problem.
Okay,
right?
well, look at it this way. I'm gonna punch Strider in the face a lot, and you're gonna say, stop punching me in the face, and I'm gonna be like, God, I'm so punching him in the face, and then I keep punching him in the face. I just don't stop.
That was really clever.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Would that make you feel any better if I just said, I'm punching him in the face?
Well, at least they're like aware of it. Like this is very clearly not supposed to be the same show over again.
I don't think that's a fair comparison. See, you're punching Strider in the face. That is painful, and it is hurting him. And seeing him get hurt is hurting in itself.
Wouldn't you say that some people
watching
think
Teen Titans Go hurts
some
me.
people are hurt by watching Teen Titans Go because
Here's the difference.
Teen Titans Go is punching Teen Titans in the face, and that's what people think, though.
Here's the thing, though.
Okay.
You don't have to watch it, and 2, it's not made for you. It's made for the kids. Like that's my biggest argument. The people who are complaining about it are people that are older than the demographic that the show is aimed at.
Okay, well that's a whole nother thing.
If I hear a video from a 10-year-old kid saying how much Teen Titans Go sucks, then I'm gonna be like, okay, then maybe there might be a point. But so far, it's the highest rated show. People really like it, and they're making a movie about it. The kids love it.
Okay.
I was about to say that too, where it's like they're very clearly saying that this is not the same show over again.
Okay.
It's a parody. It's literally a satire of the original. That's what it was.
Okay.
Is it a good satire? Maybe not. But that's all subjective.
Okay.
So.
That's a different topic entirely, though. So we're not
Yeah.
gonna get
Like a whole
into that.
video about that.
Very deep
Okay.
topic. We can get into.
Yeah. So everybody did their Strider. Did you do a summation of your thoughts?
Not really, but I pretty much agree with you guys that memes are an adaptation of the time, as I mentioned before, that works so much better than advertising now. And like it can date a show, it can be very obvious, but when we can feel the strings being pulled, and when we feel teenagers are very easily feel like they're manipulated quite easily. So I don't think it's fair to say it can just be for kids, because teenagers can feel manipulation even more than adults. So yeah, I think when we can feel the strings being pulled, then there's a problem. But if it's clever, if it didn't necessarily have the intent, and we can't feel the intent of making a meme, I think that can make it really clever.
I'm on a Strider side. As long as the intent is like not like completely obvious, then yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I actually find some of these like hilarious. I actually quite rather enjoy some of these. But the intent can't be so like, yeah, the strings can't be being pulled. The show has to be popular, or the episode has to be popular, and then people make memes out of it.
Mm-hmm. I would say that in summation, I think the good way to sum it up is just saying, analyze your meme. Is the meme giving to the public consciousness, even something that actually didn't sit well with me before, like Pickle Rick, actually, now I kind of have a better perspective on it, is that even though it was obnoxious the way people took it and went way too far with it in the fan base, they still contributed to, like, they still gave. It was a joke, in a way. I don't know if it worked, in my opinion, necessarily, but yes, they gave to it. Whereas something like the Emoji Movie and Powerpuff Girls 2016, all they do is take. They don't give anything. So, yeah, like, all they do is take. They don't give anything. So, I would say that those are the types of memes that ruin cartoons, is when a cartoon just takes and doesn't give anything. And also when it doesn't know how to be sparing with its meta-humor. Too, when it's just too self-referential and it's just a giant piss take all the time, that's when I would say it can ruin a cartoon for sure. But the be-all end-all answer to the question, are memes ruining cartoon, I would say is no. It just depends on the context, the intent, and if it's giving or if it's taking.
Yeah,
I would throw into that memes made me love the B movie.
That's true.
B movie 2 coming December.
Yeah, everyone
December
completely-
17th.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Everybody fucking forgot about that movie for a long time.
Nobody
because
cared
it was
about the B movie.
It was so
I would be
mediocre and
surprised.
strange, yeah. But then the memes came, and now people went back and watched it. So there we go. So
Like,
I'd
that's
be
gotta have like
surprised
some
if the
influence
memes
on
actually
like.
inspire them to make a second movie. Like that would be
Is
the
it really a
first
second
time in
movie?
history. That would be the first time in history memes were responsible for a sequel to a somewhat
really happening?
subpar. No, I'm just saying, like, if
Oh,
they
okay.
ever did,
No,
that
but
would
they-
be the
so
first time
excited.
in history that a meme made a sequel to a subpar animated film.
But then you would have to
Something-
consider it's taking from the public consciousness the fact that people
Well,
were
but
it
it's
did
only-
first.
it would
made an
only be
entire movie
taking-
first.
It would only be taking from it if all the movie was just playing off of the memes. What I would think is that they would play off of the ludicrousness of them, maybe not
Like,
going
the B
back.
movie existed before memes were a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
there
I would
were the
love to see a B movie too.
There were the low-key memes, like Schwifty5 is what I'm trying to say. You remember Schwifty5? Schwifty5. But anyway, yeah, I don't think a B movie 2 would be a good idea, because there's no way it could come back without it being all self-referential and everything
I
like
would
that.
love.
I would watch it. I would
love
totally
B
watch it.
movie. I
There's
really
the
enjoyed
video.
the first B movie. I thought the B movie was highly underrated. I thought it was
a very enjoyable
I
film.
think it's all right,
I
but
think it's
I just went back
fucking
because of the
weird.
memes.
It
I
is
love- I
a
love-
B movie. It's okay. That's the
There's a
thing.
video on YouTube real quickly.
The
There's
B
a video.
movie in itself was caused as it was a pun that went out of control and actually turned into a movie.
Okay.
Like,
How
the
are
whole
the
thing-
grades? All B's.
All
Well, the
right.
whole thing was like they wanted to make a B animated movie, and Jerry pitched like, I want to make a B animated movie. He's like, you want to make a movie about bees? It's like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do then.
Okay, again, that's another topic, but yes, I would agree about the memes sort of revitalizing the B movie, which in a sense is good. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be all for today. Thank you guys for joining me for the very first Talkin Tuesdays. I hope you had
Pleasure.
fun.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great to have you. If you ever want to come back, just let me know and we'll have more topics for the future. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think memes are ruining cartoons? Do you think being too meta is really annoying in a cartoon? Feel free to post your thoughts below, and the best comment will be featured at the end of the next Talkin Tuesdays. Alright?
Hey.
Yeah. So thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see y'all later. See you guys.
Bye bye.
Peace.